minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city. I got you. Rep your city. I'm gonna tell you now, man. Rep your city.
It's time for us to go live, so rep your city. I really would appreciate if y'all roll with me. Feeling this music cause it makes me wanna step. And if you don't want to, then you lying to yourself. Cause every time we party, we gon' have fun. I don't know about you, but I'ma rep where I'm from.
Rep your city. Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city.
Welcome to the RYC Live Show this evening. My name is Artistic. I'm your host for tonight, and this is Rep Your City RYC Live Fresh Fridays. And we're back once again with another fresh episode. And so we, as we always do, we like to encourage you to keep it locked and loaded here on the platform. If you have not done so already, please do send us a subscription. Hit the subscription button on our subscription or our YouTube channel. Hit that subscription button there to continue to subscribe to the content that we continually provide you each and every Friday night. We do this once again each and every Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you'd like to be a guest on a future show, we encourage you to do so by sending us an email to ryclive@yahoo.com. That's ryclive@yahoo.com. So it's a chill night here in the windy city of Chicago, summer night that is. And I'm just chilling here in the studio. And so as you all know, we have our guest tonight, DJ Terry Hunter. DJ Terry Hunter will be on shortly. I spoke to him earlier, and he actually is a busy man, as usual, constantly making music, doing his thing. And so, unfortunately, we're actually going to just have him on briefly tonight. He's in the middle of creating some music and doing some submissions at this moment as we speak in the studio. And so, but he did agree to come on briefly because, you know, we did talk about it. And so, but we're going to actually do a part 2. So we're going to have him back on to do a full interview. But tonight, we're just going to have him on as soon as he's available real briefly. I do appreciate his time and effort to still want to do it. And give you all what we promised. All right. So also, if you like the programming that you have constantly been getting from us on this platform, please send us a monetary donation to RYC Live on our Cash App. That's RYC Live on our Cash App. That way, any donations that you submit to us can go to helping us continue to provide you with the programming that we provide. We hope you're enjoying the programming that we provide to you each and every Friday. Shout out to the team, RYC Live, the family, Mr. RYC Live himself, and Lady Alicia, and all those other members that continually work with us and support us on the team. We will have some new things kicking off just shortly with our programming. So continue to stay tuned. And if you also like to, look forward to doing your own show on this network, please reach out to us. We're looking for additional professional people to join the team. And if you feel like you might be a good fit to do your own show, your own vodcast, right? Yeah, vodcast, a word that you don't hear too often, right? So let us know. Hit us up. Reach out to myself or Mr. RYC Live himself, and tell us what your interests are. Again, you can send us an email to ryclive@yahoo.com. That's ryclive@yahoo.com. Yeah. So I'll just chop it up with y'all in the meantime. Still waiting for Terry to come in. But as again, like I said, he's at the studio as we speak, working. All right. Yes, sir. So so anybody have any experiences that they like to share? Hit it up in the comments. Let us know what's going on. Any upcoming events going on this weekend that y'all like to share? Hit us up and let us know. In the meantime, I'm actually going to just go to a commercial break. Oh, wait, there he is. There is our brother. So let's bring him on in right now. Brother DJ Terry Hunter. There he
What up?
is. There he is. What's going on, my brother?
How you?
I'm good. Glad to have you with us tonight.
Man, glad to be here, bro. What's
So
going on?
Welcome to the RYC Live Show, my brother.
Man, I appreciate that. Good to be here. Good to be here.
So I was just telling the viewers that, we're going to just have you on briefly and we're going to do a part 2.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, thank you for still taking the time out. We have such busy lives today.
Yes, man. It's been a busy one. I've been in the studio and I had a couple of major deadlines that kind of threw me off. So it's a good thing though. So
right. Okay. Well, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. For you on the South Side, I seen the interview you did uploaded onto YouTube, where you were talking about the nightclubs in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool, going around to the actual spots and stuff like that. So talk about what it was like for you. And I know you've shared this story, but this is kind of an entryway. But what was it like for you in the very beginning that kind of segued you to wanting to become in this game we know and love called house music?
Yeah, man, it was just what you said, man, the love for house music. It was something about it. I've told a story a couple of times with some guys, man, and it's funny, and I'm gonna put my brother on the spot. But when we was teenagers going to high school, man, my girlfriend at the time was going to the same school that Common and No ID was going to, and No ID was producing house music at the time, and it was crazy. I wanted to get into hip hop, really. You know what I mean? I was trying to produce hip hop, but I was coming up as a DJ. And at that time, listen, you wasn't making your ways in Chicago by doing just hip hop. It just was not happening in the 80s. You know what I mean? And so I said, listen, I'm gonna go where the people want me to go. And I love both genres of music, but I was just, at that time, a crazy street teenager, and I was really into the hip hop thing, early Public Enemy stuff. And so house music was always the backdrop, you know what I mean? And I loved it and wanted to DJ it too. But my cousin really got me into it early on, man. When I was about 11 or 12, he took me to this party up north, and Frankie Knuckles was DJing. And I knew from that point, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? And that was the DJing aspect of it. But later on, the hip hop stuff started coming through, and I was like, yeah, man, this is kind of for me. And then it was No ID was doing house, and then we kind of did this. You know what I mean? He went more into the hip hop, and I went more into the house. So it was crazy. It was crazy.
Wow. So so what neighborhood were you from? Let's start there. Where did you grow
South
up?
Side, 83rd and Ingleside. I grew up in that area between Ellis and Ingleside, and then I was such a bad teenager, I guess. My mother hit me when she was very young, so in the summers I used to stay with my mother. And it was at the point when my grandparents was like, nope, you're not staying over there. You're moving with us. And they had just moved into this condo on 24th and Canal, right near Chinatown, called Appleville. And it was a lot of people that grew up over there too, but it was like right on the cusp of Chinatown and Bridgeport. And I was just telling my friend, I was like, yo, I graduated grammar school at the school called Healy, Robert A. Healy, and it was in Bridgeport. And so you got to remember at that time, 81, 82, 83, listen, it was hard being black in that area at that time, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, they pulled me. I guess they said, hey, we'd rather you deal with that than you dealing with what you dealing with this street stuff and these gangs on the South Side. So I kind of moved over there and hence went to high school from over there. That's how I ended up going to Dunbar because I stayed in that area.
Okay.
And yeah, that's I'm a South Sider though.
Right. Wow. So, you know, and yeah, and I know we always, when we talk about anything that we do in Chicago, you know, it's a direct relationship to our environment with the gang culture.
For sure.
You know, and you know, you kind of got to learn how to navigate and move around to do, even if you're not a part of that, still you gotta know how to move around, you know.
Have to.
You know what I'm saying?
If you was a neutron, you had to let it be known, hey, I'm a neutron, all right? Or you over there. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a thing, man. I was definitely involved and I was headed down that wrong path, and music saved me. And first my grandparents did, but secondly, music saved me.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about radio. Okay,
Yeah.
so did you listen to BMX back in those
Of
days?
course. Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about that experience with listening, because I know that was one of the first radio stations that I really started paying attention to when it came to music.
Right.
Like for me personally.
Right.
So how was it like for you?
No, it was cool. You know, I came up, like I said, with my cousin, man, who I was named after. He's obviously older than me. You know, my family was a big entertaining family. And so that's how I resonated with the music, because of what my family played and what my cousin Terry played, you know, in the house, hanging around him and looking up to him. And when I first heard Frankie, it was a lot of songs that I recognized as a child. Like, damn, he's mixing these records seamlessly, you know, one after another, and then it didn't stop. And so that's kind of what triggered me to learn how to DJ. And then of course the college, you know, stations was doing their thing. And then the Hot Mix 5 at that time, bro, was undeniable. You had the hot lunch mix, you had the 6 o'clock mix during the week, and then on the weekends, I believe it was like 10 to 2 or 9 to 2, and you had, you know, Farley, big ups to him, Ralphie, Mickey, you know, all of those guys, man. And that was definitely, in my grammar school years, they were the soundtrack to the streets. You know what I mean? You heard, if you wasn't listening to Ron Hardy or, you know, some of the club guys and Frankie, and you had, you know, a lot of the DJs that was popping in, BMX was it. That is just hands down, it was it. And if you're in Chicago, you're a little younger, that's V103 right now. So
Right.
yeah, it was the backdrop, man. It was it. It was everything. That I remember having I'm gonna show my age now, and which is funny. I'm gonna show you this. I got from an event, but I used to have these ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Cassette tapes, baby.
Yeah.
That was it. So I had, look, these are Maxwell tapes, right?
Right.
But I couldn't afford them. I was on Tone Masters. If y'all remember Tone Masters.
Tone Master it is.
I had the Tone Master joints, you know what I mean? I couldn't afford the Maxwells yet. The Maxwells was a lot more money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was it. I saw this, it was funny. We went to an event and they had this as decorations, man, and they put this together, and I was like, yo, I love this. And so I have them on top of my speakers in the studio, man. And sometimes I've had people come over and like, yo, these are real tapes. I'm like, yeah, man, this is what I come up for. So I used to have them things ready to go on all the mixes, studying them, put them in my radio, press and record.
Right. Yeah, that was a big, I mean, you know, that was big. You know, that's how music also circulated for us. Just like in New York,
Absolutely.
you had to have a cassette. We had to have a
Absolutely.
boom box. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
and see, I used to record BMX with those cassettes.
Yeah, man.
And before I started switched over and started listening to HBK when they started
Yep.
the rap show. But
Absolutely.
prior to that, it was BMX, and I always used to wonder how at a time, like you say, the blending, the technique that they had, those DJs, was seamlessly, because I used to think that the record was just made like that. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
No, absolutely. Those guys had skills, man. And that was the thing. It was like, that's what separated us. And I didn't know that then, but I figured it out a few years later from the New York DJs and the Chicago DJs. Because even with hip hop, we blended hip hop, where
Mm-hmm.
New York cats just cut it right in, or
Mm-hmm.
even some of the house guys, they will mix really quick. In Chicago, we like to hold blends, and I attribute that to all the guys that was on BMX.
Yeah, yeah. I when I think back, man, and it was cool because that's why those are my early memories, because not only they
Yes,
was playing such like a mixture of music
yes,
that exposed you to it to early on, to where you was just like, wow, like I would hear some Africa Bambaataa, Planet Rock, but then I would hear some Lolita Holloway, Crash Goes Love,
absolutely.
you know,
Come on.
yeah,
Woo!
and the way they would put it together would be like, wow,
Yes,
this
sir.
right.
Crash goes love. We going there now, baby. You showing your history,
Right.
baby. I love that. Yes, sir. Let's go. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And like you say, those nights were real hot. Friday nights,
Yes,
Saturday nights, lunch
yes.
mixes, and everybody in Chicago at that time too. We didn't have the internet, so we had the
Right.
radio, and people in their cars driving down the street would
Yes.
be promoting, listening to the station.
Absolutely.
And I mean, and
Absolutely.
I would always just, because I had never even been to the radio station, but I remember they used to always broadcast, Oak Park, Chicago.
Oak Park, Chicago. Yes, sir. That's where they was at. Oak Park, Chicago. Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Those are the days. I had a chance to go up there a lot of times before they moved and turned to V103. But man, it was, you look back and you think about some of that stuff, man. Those were just really pivotal, iconic years just for Chicago and the music scene in general, man. Just looking back at that, never in a million years would you think that the music will reach different countries the way it is to now, and how big it is. And so
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that start, New York definitely had a play in it, but Chicago was leading the way. Big ups to everybody in New York. The Larry Levan days and T. Scott and Tony Humphreys and all of those guys, they were doing their thing. But Chicago, we were on something a little different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what was some of your, give me maybe one or two of your favorite clubs that you either spun at or that you enjoy going to for parties?
I definitely have to say the Music Box with Ron
Okay.
Hardy was definitely one of my favorites. And the Record Ball Club
Okay.
in Chicago, on if you're in Chicago on 47th, right off Lake Shore, Gucci Promotions used to do the biggest high school parties. You had, man, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 kids in there, man, and the girls was off the chain. And so every time they had an event, it was special. It brought the city out.
Right. 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 Yeah. And I had to laugh when you was talking to the gentleman when you was touring the clubs,
Yeah.
talking about the history, and you start talking about poster wars.
Oh yeah. That was a real thing, man. Poster Wars was a real thing. Everybody that was throwing parties in Chicago, they had their own crews. And
Yeah.
we had our crew Gucci, and then it was Galaxy, and then it was just guys up north. And
Yeah.
man, you would go out and you hang your posters up, and in the morning you come out, and everybody got getting that rush hour thing and hanging them on all the bus stops around the city, and then your stuff be ripped down, and
Right.
then some new posters is up. So it was crazy. We used to plot outside, waiting on somebody to catch them, rival promoters, and man, it was. I remember we had a huge fight on 79th to Stony Island. And if you're in Chicago, that's a big, because
Yeah.
that's
The
Stony
intersection.
Island, that's 79th, that's Stony North and South, 79th East and West, and then South Chicago.
Yep.
So there
Yep.
was plenty of poles in all of those intersections there.
Right.
And man, we caught somebody tear down our posters. It was a proper fight in the middle of Sunday like the Stony at 3, 4 in the morning.
Right.
So the wars was real. It was
Wow.
real.
Yeah, man. And then I also remember like going, a lot of the promoters, not with just the posters, but the flyers too.
Right. Oh yeah.
Going out to other events, to make sure that you
Absolutely.
promote your event.
Promote your event, and you putting them on cars, or you standing in front of somebody's party, passing them out, and the next guy like, "No, man, you can't stand in front of him and pass that out, man." Da, 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 da. And then that'll be a situation. But it was crazy, man. It was just all for the love of the music, man. In Chicago, we were, and that's what I mean. Like we were different. We were different,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And I love that about us. We wasn't like any other city in the world, and not just the States, but in the world.
Yeah.
Chicago was special.
That's what's up. Do you have any of your old equipment that you might have made music on from back in those days?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay.
About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I had no, about 8 years ago now, I had a massive flood
Oh, wow.
in my studio, and I lost everything that I owned from when I was a teenager, all of my tapes, my vinyl collection. If you're in Chicago, you probably guys don't. I don't remember what maybe it was 2015, 16, but I just remember that weekend they were saying that we was gonna have some of the worst storms ever. And I just remember it was so bad, man. My whole block was flooded. And in my basement where the studio was, it was all of my stuff sat underwater for 4 or 5 days before they drained everything out on the streets. So I had a terrible loss. It was a really big loss for me at that time. And it was to the point where like I had nothing. Like literally everything was destroyed.
Wow.
And so I had to start up, from scratch again. And it was crazy. I was in the middle of producing what has now been Aretha Franklin's last album. I produced 2 songs on that album. When I had the flood, I lost all of that music. And while recovering from that, had to go back in and redo everything again to get it submitted in time to make the album.
Wow.
So it was a crazy time, man. Yeah, like maybe 2016, maybe 15, 16.
Wow.
So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have none of the stuff. I had it up until then.
Wow.
I had everything. I had my old 8-track cassettes and half-inch reels. I had everything, man.
Right. Wow, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
I said I'm gonna do a documentary about it, man, because I'm cutting some parts out. Some of the stuff that happened, it was crazy, man. It was in Chicago, if you remember the Shrine, I used to do a Sunday night at the Shrine called Bang Sundays, me and Reggie Corners. And that day I had a birthday party. I got really, really sick, right? Passed out literally DJing because I was so sick. Got rushed to the hospital. Was in the hospital from Sunday night, Monday morning, all the way until Saturday, the following. And that's when the rainstorm was happening. The craziest thing in the world. So as I'm finally getting discharged from the hospital after being there 6, 7 days, my wife gets a call. Her grandmother was coming into the emergency room when I was getting out the hospital. So we left, checked on her grandmother. We went home because we were talking about we was getting this massive rainstorm. So we wanted to get out. And then it was crazy. We went home, finally got into bed. 2, 3 hours later, wife gets a call, her grandmother dies. We go all the way back out to the hospital. It took us like 3 hours to get there because streets was flooded. It was like a mess. We got there, dealt with that, came back home, finally went to sleep, and then like 7 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to my wife screaming because our basement was flooding.
Oh, wow.
With all of my studio stuff. So
wow,
that was kind of like it was a crazy, crazy, crazy time. So I said, I'm gonna do a little short doc on it, man, because everybody keep telling you gotta write a book, you gotta do a doc on it, man, you gotta do a
Yeah,
movie. So
yeah.
and then at the time that it was happening, you know, was working on Aretha and it was all of that stuff going on. So it was crazy.
Yeah, and especially now, a lot of people are doing that. You know, people
Yeah,
are telling their stories, and people just don't want to be forgotten. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And then experiences like that. That could really wipe your circuit board.
Absolutely.
And so the only thing you got left is the memories.
That's
You
it.
know.
That's it. And that's all. That's it. And that's all, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you started, when you got into it in the '80s, before you actually started making music, what was that atmosphere like? Were you? Obviously you were going to the parties
Yeah.
because I know house has its own culture,
Yes.
and development in it. But is there is there something that you can talk or define when it comes to, because a lot of people just refer to the music, but what about the
Yes.
actual cultural perspective of it?
Yeah, like house was crazy. You know, it was especially back then. Um, you knew someone was house just like hip hop by the way they dress.
Mm-hmm.
And back then we had a big eyeglass wear company at that time. And I just remember all the fine girls used to wear, we called them LBs for Laura Bugatti. And those was some frames, some eyeglass frames. And then it was a designer back then that was really popular called Willie Wear. And I remember telling this story that at that time, I begged my grandparents for some Willie Wear pants. And
Uh-huh.
those pants in the 80s, man, was like $350. Like you only can get them at the Water Tower place or some extreme expensive place. But like back then, you had a lot of boosters in Chicago. So
Right,
you
right,
had
right,
guys,
right.
sticking up the stores and they would have them. And my grandparents actually bought me a pair, man. And I thought I was the coldest thing in the world. And I remember at that time, they used to wear riding boots and we used to wear Jordache jeans and all of that type of stuff. So you can really tell, like, if you was house from the way you dress. But the crazy part about it coming up in the 80s with that, all of that separated everything. When you went into a party, don't get me wrong, we was wild, it was fights, it was all kind of crazy stuff. But man, you were there. We didn't care if you was straight, gay, black, white, Asian, Spanish. It was about the music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's culturally, it brought the city together. House brought the city together. Some people that you would probably never even kick it with. Like, I remember going I tell this story all the time. I used to go to the music box and there'd be some Blackstones in there. There'd be some folks, some BDs and GDs over there. There'd be some Vice Lords, some Kings there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't be no problems while you was in the music box.
Right.
Now, what happened after you left
Right.
is another story.
Right. Right. Right.
Gay,
Right.
straight, it didn't matter. It
Right.
was about the music, and it's crazy to fast forward just to see that happening with what we're doing with Chosen Few.
Yeah.
It's a big, love fest, man. And it's about the music, it's about just showing love and family, and it's a incredible gathering. And again, I haven't seen anything. I travel all over the world and do festivals, and I haven't seen anything remotely close to what we do in Chosen Few. And that's what makes me feel super special about it, because I don't have to go to another country to get
Mm-hmm.
that. We got
Yeah.
40, 50,000 people at our event every year. So that started from back in the day. That's why Chosen Few is what it is right now. Never no issues, never no nothing. Everybody, you'll be walking in a picnic, and if you look hungry, somebody gonna offer you a plate.
Right.
Even if
Right.
you don't look hungry,
Right.
you like, damn, that look good. Hey, you want to try this?
Right.
It's just
Right.
about the love and the music. So man, that's what it represents. You know what I mean?
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, hey man, thank you, man. We it's our
Listen,
30 minutes already, man.
listen, it's crazy. And see, with these interviews, when I draw with people like you, bro, we could talk forever. But I promise you, man, let's schedule it. Let's
Yes,
get this back on point, and let's do a part 2, and then we gonna really get into it.
that's what's up.
We
That's
gonna
what's up.
really get into
That's
it, and
what's
that
up.
way we'll have a lot of time to promote it and get
Yeah.
people on there, and we can kind of do a recap and go over it so everybody
Yeah.
that's tuned in.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this again. I apologize. I kind of double booked something. I was supposed to be streaming, but I couldn't let my guy down. I had to come and do something and say what's up to the people, man, on RYC, and we're gonna do this part 2 like really soon, bro.
Yes. Well,
Let's
hey,
do
man.
it sooner than later, man. Like I don't know if you got something scheduled for next week. The week after next, the 15th, I am out the country, but let's figure it out.
Okay, yeah, we'll
And
check
let's
the
promote
schedule and do that. So,
Yes.
can you do me one favor before we close?
Anything, bro.
Can you do a drop for us? You know, we'll be back next Friday, but could you just say something like, you know, thanks for watching the RYC Live Show, you know, and just something throw in there for us that we could,
Absolutely,
highlight.
and I could do some more off of live personal ones that you want me to do too.
Okay.
But yeah, yo, what's up? This is Terry Hunter, represents Chicago, and you're checking out RYC Live. We're gonna see you for part 2 real soon.
Word up. Thank you, my brother.
Man,
Enjoy
no, thank you. And again, my apologies, but we're gonna get it in on the next one.
All right, my brother. Well, have
All
a good session, man,
Yes,
and
sir.
we'll be in
Thank
touch
you,
soon.
everybody.
Peace.
Love.